This conference will now be recorded.
Oh my goodness. Oh, excuse me for that. Um, Good morning, everybody, to the November 17th edition of Coaching Call. I appreciate all of you being on board. And if you are feeling especially brave and courageous this morning, I would encourage you, like Kevin and I, to turn your camera on so we can see the whites of your eyes. Don't have to, of course, but I do enjoy connecting with you in that way if it's possible. You may notice I'm bundled up more than normal and speaking a little more slowly than normal. That's because I do have a cold and a sore throat. And after I kind of get us kicked off this morning, Kevin's going to kind of jump into the MC role and keep the ball rolling. I appreciate that, Kevin. He's on site at a buyer walkthrough for a home under construction. But I wanted to kick things off with a little experience that I had yesterday. I was down in, thank you, Blythe. Good to see you. Um, I was in Katy all day yesterday for meetings with real estate agents. And at the last meeting of the day, the agent wanted to meet at a Turkish restaurant. We did, and they started serving me Turkish coffee. If you've ever had that, it comes in a little tiny cup and it's like mud. It's super, super concentrated and caffeinated. I could only drink it with a whole bunch of sugar in it. But over the conversation, the agent, who's a mega icon agent within EXP, he and his wife both highly productive. Both of them were there talking to me. He asked me a number of questions about real estate sales over the course of the afternoon, but one of them really stuck out to me. He summed it all up and said, Frank, what is the secret of success in real estate sales? And I didn't even have to think about my answers, just like somebody pushed the button on a vending machine and boom, it popped out. And what I said is the secret of success in real estate sales is the depth and the breadth of your personal relationships. It's how many people you know, that's the breadth, and then how well you know them, that's the depth. And if you have a wide enough pool of people who know you, like you, trust you, and your relationship with them is deep enough that they would prefer working with you than the other 10 or 12 agents that you know, then your success in real estate sales is guaranteed. And the foundation for that assurance is, as I have said many, many times, people have grown accustomed to living in homes. And no matter what's going on in the economy or with interest rates or international affairs, people are still going to live in homes. And there are certain trigger events in life that are going to cause them to buy, sell, and move from one home to another. And that could be a job transfer, it could be getting married, getting divorced, having children, having the children go away to college. There's any number of things. In my situation, it's whenever Mary gets the house remodeled to her taste, it's time to move. Uh, so, um, my point is, all those things happen regardless of what's going on in the external world of environment and interest rates. And so, if you just know enough of these human beings who've developed an affinity for living under a roof, you are going to get your share. You're going to get precisely your fair share of real estate leads and business because those people are going to have a real estate agent represent them on these transactions. We know that. The figures are well over 90% for buyers and sellers who are represented by a real estate agent in a transaction. So if your real estate career is not where you want it to be, the best advice that I can give you is meet more people, expand your circle of influence, your circle of contacts, your circle of friends, and then take those relationships deeper. Move an acquaintance into being a friend, taking a friend to the level of being a good friend. And I realize you can't be a good friend with 100 people, but you can have a respectful, kind, cordial, warm relationship. I think of my Sunday school class. There's 30, 35 people in there, 17, 18 different married couples. I can't be best friends with all of them, but I can get to know them. I can go to our parties. I can deepen the relationship to go from a Sunday morning experience to more of a personal relationship. And here's the key, in deepening these relationships, you're not talking about real estate all the time, right? You're talking about their kids and their grandkids and school and the Astros and what's Mattress Mac up to. And that's you're just doing life with these people. You're not putting real estate in their face all the time. But you cannot neglect reminding them what you do professionally. And so the key to that, to navigating that tricky relationship, is you remind them what you do in non face to face ways with your beautiful Facebook reels. Blythe, I was laying in bed last night. I was sick, but I couldn't sleep, just thumbing through reels seemingly all night, literally until the battery died on my phone. And all these crazy people from all over the world, sometimes speaking different languages, but you popped up right in the middle of it. And I was so happy to see your face. And this was the reel where you just used, it was something like people who don't think the fall is a good time to buy a home, or it was something like that. And you just made this, strange, funny face. Um, that's how you do it. You remind your friends and family that you're in the real estate business in a funny or helpful or informative way that doesn't put you, like when you're literally face to face, you're not saying, hey, need to buy a house. You know anybody needs to buy a house? That's salesy. That's used car salesman. We don't want that. But if we send them a monthly postcard and we send them maybe a weekly e-newsletter, and we're posting our reels and our success stories with our buyers and sellers on social media, that does the job of reminding them that we are a caring, competent real estate professional who's ready and willing to help them with their real estate needs. And then when we're face to face, we just build a relationship. We care about them. We ask about their kids, and we bond as normal human beings do. So I realize that sometimes we get confused about the crossover, but if you can maintain that, constantly reminding them of what you do, but when you're face to face, deepening the personal friendship, your success in real estate is going to be guaranteed if you expand that pool far enough. Now, I frequently consult with real estate agents, and I ask them, how many people do you know in your real estate market area? Let's just say the whole Houston market area. How many people do you know on a first name basis? And if your answer is 30, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. Your pool of friends is not large enough. It needs to be bigger. You need to know at least 100 people on a first name basis. And if you just dropped into town on a rocket ship and you don't know anybody, that needs to be your first task. Start meeting people, start joining clubs and organizations and going to networking events, join networking groups, intentionally get to know people, go wide, get at least 100 people on a first name basis, and then go deep. Then start building the relationship so that they look to you when they need to move the roof that they live under. Okay, there we go. That's what I wanted to share with you to kind of kick things off. Any pushback, feedback, thoughts about that advice which I gave yesterday and shared with you today? Kevin?
No, no thoughts for me. I was just turning my mic on. I got away from the noisy environment. That's a great challenge to go wide and deep. And I'll just start with one simple story, and I would challenge everybody on the call. Think about transactions you have had and how they came about and how your relationship with that person really came about. And the 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 new home construction I'm on right now is a friend who I literally met, I don't know, 20 years ago in the Woodlands. And the irony, it was this time of the year, and his family was all going overseas, and he was going to be stuck here and have Thanksgiving by himself. And we didn't even know him that well. And I said, well, you just come to our house for Thanksgiving. And that's when we had him over. And I wouldn't even have remembered that, except Frank challenged me. How did that transaction come about? But what happened before that? But what happened before that? And it was in going deeper that I recalled that. And so it had nothing to do with real estate. I wasn't even in real estate, but it's just being a person and doing your thing, and that's how it started. So I think it's a great secret of real estate that you shared with us this morning, Frank.
Well, that's a great story. And by the way, if you ever come and tell me, like Kevin did, that you just got a great new client or a great new home under contract, I'm going to ask you the very same questions I asked Kevin. To me, again, it's like pushing a button on a vending machine. What comes out of me is, what is the source of that relationship? Where did this deal come from? Was it a Zillow lead? I don't think in my career I've ever heard anybody say that. Now, I'm sure that there are Zillow leads out there that turn into transactions. I get that. Statistically, there's millions of them. But I'm just telling you, when I talk to agents and I say, where did that relationship come from? The answer is always, well, they're my neighbor, or I went to school with them, or our children play together, our parents play together. Yeah, that happens when you reach a certain age. Um, we go to church, we're in the fitness club together. It invariably is some personal relationship. It might have been a referral from a past client, but somebody who was happy with you and introduced you to their friend. The personal connections are where this business is. So I would say save your money on buying online leads and instead spend that at Starbucks on a cup of coffee across the table from somebody that you want to deepen the relationship with. That's where it's at. And I'll tell you, I'm taking my own advice. I like you, I'm scrambling for business right now and trying to keep the revenue streams flowing to keep the lights on around here. And my response to that has been, I am reconnecting with people um, who can send business to our real estate company or to our mortgage company. And every day, I was having Turkish coffee yesterday. That was in the afternoon. In the morning, I met with another agent at Starbucks in Katy. The middle of the day, I was in a board meeting for the Franklin team with 30 super high powered people, again, who can send business to our mortgage company. I am very proactively here. Look at this. See this right here? This is a list of people that I'm targeting. I don't know if you can see all my chicken scratches all over this list. This is 30 people that I wrote down that I need to deepen my relationship with. Um, and I didn't even think I did this last week. I didn't do this in connection with what I wanted to share with you today. But I just want you to know that I am practicing what I preach. And I want to grow my business as you want to grow yours. And so I'm doing exactly what I'm counseling you to do. In fact, at 11 o'clock this morning, I'm having another one of those meetings with somebody on this list. And I'm driving to Cyprus, and we're going to have some comida mexicana at Alicia's restaurant and deepen. This is a guy that I knew at Remax many, many years ago. I never knew him well, but we ran in the same circles, so we knew of each other. And this will be the first time that we've ever sat down one on one. But again, my business needs to go to the next level, and so I'm reaching out to deepen these relationships. So so there we go. I feel like I'm just rambling on. I want to give y'all an opportunity to talk. Anybody else want to jump in on this conversation?
I will. I think it has to do with intentionality, and having an intentional plan for how you're going to deepen and grow your relationships with people. It's, if you think about like I guess the analogy of dating, right? You can't just take somebody from blind date to married right
Right.
away. Not
Yes.
usually anyway. But I think I'm reading a book called Find Your People by Jenny Allen, and it's really great. If any of you guys wanted to pick that book up as well, and it talks about how it really starts with you. You know, it really starts with you putting forth the effort and being intentional about how you're meeting people and growing deeper in your relationships. And so you can't sit back and like complain about things, if you're
Yes.
not willing to put in the work. So
Yes.
it's applies personally as well, but also it can apply to our business because we're in the business of people and relationships. So you have to you have to master that skill if you want to be successful.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I love it. Letty, Stan, Rochelle, Kathy, Michelle, any of y'all want to jump in? Any thoughts here? No pressure. But we want to hear from you if you got something stirring up in there. So yesterday, when I was at the Franklin team board meeting, there was these 30, they called them generals. And I told them when we introduced each other, I'm like, I don't know how I got in this room. I feel very intimidated, being in the same room with all these people who are just so super successful. But during the course of that meeting, Kevin and Fred logged in from Arizona, and they started telling us about a new approach to agent attraction that they have been experimenting with. They're doing beta testing. They kind of came up with this, and they're going to be rolling it out to us over the next month or so. Kevin thinks he's going to have it written up in draft format by the end of November to share with us. But let me share with you the basics because it just dovetails so beautifully with what we're talking about this morning. They're calling this program, oh, now I don't remember. It's something like Get To or something like that. And the point is, whenever anybody joins eXp Realty, we want to, as their sponsoring agent, we want to come alongside them and help them get their first two recruits in a very short amount of time, say within 30 or 45 days. We want them to start this revenue share flow in their business from the very beginning so that they begin participating in one of the incredible benefits provided by the EXP organization. And part of the strategy, this is the new piece, in helping them get there too, is that they make a list of 10. Now, y'all know in the four simple steps that are the basis of most EXP attraction, step number one is to make a big list. Make a list of 100 real estate agents or 200 real estate agents. And then you start calling them, building the relationship, not necessarily a direct recruiting pitch, but again, you go deep on the relationship until you can have the EXP conversation. Well, what they're saying is that's too much. That's too much for most agents. Let's just focus on 10 because we all know 10 other agents. If you've done co-op deals, if you've had a listing and gotten some offers from anybody, if you've had a buyer and you've made offers on homes, then you've had some contact with at least 10 other agents. So make that list of 10 and then go deep with those 10. That doesn't have to be a year-long process. You can go deep with 10 in 1 week. That's what I'm doing this week. I've got at least 10 coffee and lunch dates that I have set this week, and I'm going to have to do some of them by Zoom if I don't get over my cold. But I'm pursuing this. I set 3 more appointments yesterday, and some of them are for tomorrow, and then some of them are as far out as December 2nd. But what I say to people is, hey, I live my calendar. I'm sure you have a calendar too. Let's find a date and a time that works for both of us. Because people are going to say to you, and this includes your real estate clients, if you don't have a close relationship and they're thinking maybe this is a little weird that you're reaching out to them to be friends with them, I would simply say something like, it's one of my core values to open the door to new relationships every day, and to the friends that I already have to deepen the relationship every day. Life is about people, life is about connection. And I would just love the opportunity to connect with you. Let's get together and have a cup of coffee. Who knows? We might be BFFs before you know it. Um, and then to pin them down because everybody's so busy and they say, just crazy this week, maybe next week. And so I'll say, you know what? I live by my calendar. I'm sure you do too. I've got my calendar open in front of me. Let's find a date. If not this week, next week. If next week's too busy, next week is Thanksgiving. Let's look at the next week. And if that week starts off busy, let's go to the end. That's how I set 2 appointments yesterday for Friday, December 2nd, right? I just kept pushing out, pushing out, pushing out. I don't care if we set an appointment for February. The point is, before we get off the phone or before we end this conversation, let's set a date to get together. So don't think if they can't meet with you tomorrow or the next day that you just have to call them back next month. That's a dead end. You want to go ahead and book something while you're in conversation with them. Boy, I'm listening to myself talk a lot today. All right, so Kevin, I'm gonna pitch the football to you. I'm gonna be here. I'm gonna listen and participate. But to send this
Thank you.
voice in his throat.
Got it rolling. All right,
Oh,
I
you're
see. I'm going to start calling names. Catherine, Stan, Letty, come on. Y'all, what are your thoughts in terms of what Frank's been challenged us with this morning? This idea of intentionally, like Blythe said as well, intentionality in growing our relationships. Let's hear from you.
I have a question. Um, so how does building relationships with other real estate agents help you get potential buyers and sellers?
That's a great question.
Referrals, girl.
Yeah.
Referrals.
And sometimes, if you got an agent that's down in Clear Lake, they may not want to work the Woodlands and vice versa. Or they may be going off on that long-awaited trip to Hawaii for, well, who goes to Hawaii for 2 or 3 months? But whatever. You never know, all right? And the thing is, if they're another agent, sooner or later, their broker's going to get them mad. And if you have shown your fun here at EXP, you can become their plan B. So it's a two-purpose benefit, yeah.
Okay, thank
So,
you.
and Kathy, when I meet with other agents, that's probably where your question is coming from. It's either for attraction to EXP, or if they're already with EXP, it's to attract them to work with our mortgage company, Jackson Henry Mortgage. So I'm kind of sharing you my business model and how I'm working it. The principles are exactly the same for you, but this is going to be most helpful for you if you apply this to your buyer-seller relationships, deepening the relationship with them, having coffee with them, going to the next level with people who can do real estate business with you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I do have a question about something unrelated. Is that okay? So I got my license in the fall of 2020. I have never had to do a price reduction. What is the strategy? And how do I go up? My sellers are definitely motivated. So we've talked about maybe needing to reduce the price. We're going to hold another open house this weekend, but I'm wondering if it would behoove us to go ahead and drop the price before the open house, or if we should wait through the weekend. What say you, Mr. Gray?
Yeah, so in a declining market, which is what we're in right now, it is a race to the bottom. You don't want to chase prices down, because if you don't get to the bottom, you're never going to be the most attractive home. So if you run comps right now, let's say you're listed at 350, you run comps and it shows, values are at 330. I would try to get to 320. I would leapfrog ahead, get to the bottom, That's what's going to make your home most attractive. And if you can get it below what the market shows the value is, you increase the chances of getting multiple offers and bidding up over your new list price. But just tell your sellers that in this market, they've got to do something to attract attention to their home. And price and marketing are what sells homes. And if you've got the marketing piece in place, the only thing left that you can manipulate to grab attention is the price. So that would be
So
my
there's
advice.
no like strategy as far as like percentage to drop or anything like that, or should we just kind of,
So
because
there,
so
there,
this is in our my neighborhood. There's very few
yes,
comps, especially on a house of this size. So I feel like I'm kind of shooting in the dark here.
sure. So what is your current list price?
We're at 370,
Okay. What's the square footage of the home?
2519.
Okay, so it is one of the larger homes in the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So in that price range, anything less than a $10,000 drop is really not going to generate any attention. So
Okay.
at least drop 10.
Okay.
But and I heard you loud and clear when you said the comps are hard to come by. This is where it's art as well as the science. So you live in the neighborhood, you should have a gut feel about what the response has been to the current price. And by that, I mean showing activity and number of offers, if any, and if they are getting offers, what numbers they're projecting. And if it's just all been quiet on the western front, then you need to be aggressive.
Okay.
What I tell sellers is there's almost no risk in underpricing the home. If they want to go to 369 and you're recommending 359 or 350 and they think, "Oh my goodness, we don't want to sell it for 350." You can assure them if we come in at 350 and the market's 360 or 365, we're going to get multiple offers. This home is going to show up on the radar screen of every buyer's agent and every buyer looking for a home like this, and it's going to generate a feeding frenzy. If we list it at 350 and we only get a couple showings and one offer and it's at 350, then we know
We're
that
still
is
too
the
high.
market value. That market value is defined by the market, by
Mhm.
what people are willing to pay. It's not what a seller wants. It's not what an agent recommends. The market determines market value. And if you price it under market value, it's going to be bid up over. It's going to find its level. So I would encourage them to be aggressive and take away their fear of getting a lower price than what their home is worth. That won't happen.
Right. So, and would you suggest, since we're going to host an open house again this weekend, to do it before we go into the open house weekend? That's kind of what my gut's
Yes,
been telling me. Okay.
yes, yeah. You want to generate some excitement. You want to be able to
Right.
tell people we've just taken a $15,000 price reduction.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That was like the one thing I wanted to ask
Okay.
today.
So you got it.
Price improvement.
Yes, price improvement. Adjustment to the market. And again, this is always, you never want to personalize this to you. It's not what you're recommending. It's what the market is telling us. It's the feedback that we're getting from the market. So just kind of always depersonalize it to this monster out there that's dictating the terms.
I think one of the keys to this, Blythe, and great question, is to remind them, hey, what did you pay for this property? And let's make the initial anchor the only real number on the table, which is what they originally paid for it. And because they may, and you and I may be somehow influenced by numbers of last April, but those are history and they're really not relevant to where we are now. So re-anchor on what they paid for the property. And as Frank said, it's you and them against the market, and you are their advocate to help get the best of the market price that's out there. But yeah, the reduction before the open house with a clear, hey, 10,000 reduced or whatever on the for folks that are coming, and it's you and them against the market, and you're doing far better than what they paid for it back when. Um, but and then as far as comps, if you have to draw your circle a little bit wider, but the comps are what's currently listed, keeping in mind that there could be houses currently listed that themselves are overpriced, right? And if they're sitting out there with 100 days or something, you can see that and maybe not include them as much. The ones that are currently listed with shorter days on market are your more relevant comps, not what sold 6 months ago.
Mic back on. As you can see, Kevin is out there moving and shaking. I think he's at some type of realtor networking event or something, probably a builder breakfast if I know Kevin. Um, I think we have extracted all your questions today. If we have overlooked you, feel free to jump in real quick. But otherwise, I'm going to wind this down. Anybody want to jump in pretty quick? Okay, all right. Well, I sure appreciate you guys joining us today, and I'll sign off. I'm going to hopefully get some rest later this afternoon and bounce back from this cold, but I appreciate you guys participating. Love you all. Take care.
Cheers. Thanks, Frank. Bye-bye.
Uh-huh. Bye-bye.